Folks, there's been a lot of requests on my channel recently to see a lot more of the Tag Team Arena content, so I am certainly going to be trying to appease the people asking for that, and we're going to be doing a video on that here today. So we are on Sunday afternoon, about 8.5 hours out from the reset. I'm going to be trying to push myself up a little bit. I did some polls on YouTube, and through those polls I deduced that the majority of you are not even in Gold 1 yet, so this should be very relatable for a lot of people who are trying to progress. This is the particular defensive teams that I have set. I'll go ahead and show you those as well. I'm not going to be making any sort of a focus on free-to-play or low-spend teams or anything like that for this. I'm going to be using basically every single champion that I have available to me on my account to try and win these fights. So this is how it's looking overall. Not too shabby by any means. I do wish that we had higher awakenings for my Arbiter. That would really help out the teams, I would say, just because I could depend more on my speed champions, which would be nice. We're going to go through here, excuse me, and essentially just see if we can't win some battles. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here. You can see most of my champions on the selection and everything like that too. I don't really think there's a better place to put my webcam, unfortunately, but what I'm thinking already is I do want my Harima team to run against his third team, just because that's going to be pretty effective for countering the Heffrack there, of course, and then Harima is a good counter towards Sun Wukong as well. And then I'm thinking that my Taurus team could be pretty good against their Arbiter team. I forget what the aura is for this particular champion, though. Ally speed in arena battles by 30%. We do have a 4-star awakening on the Intimidating Presence, but I do think my Arbiter with her 30% aura as well as the 5-star awakening on the Sun Wukong can probably beat that. So we'll go ahead, we'll try to run this on auto and see how we can do here. Now, against the first team, when the Crixia does the attack and all that sort of good stuff, we should be able to just counterattack with the Taurus and put her down without too much issue. What I am worried about is if the AI is set up correctly on their Georgid, he might essentially be able to come in and just take us out, essentially. So we'll see here, we'll see. And then, of course, the Lydia does fairly effectively counter... Ooh, that hurts. The Lydia does fairly effectively counter my Marichka, of course, which is a bit of a shame. I think in all likelihood we are actually going to get wiped here by this team, which is a bit crazy. So there's the attempted revive. We're going to go ahead, and we can't even attempt to revive yet with the Ancora either, which is a bit of a shame. She is going to get hit down here next, yeah. So we're on to wave 2. Let's see if we can go ahead and fight somebody. Now, I have progressed myself all the way through the Ramen 2 missions where you have to get to certain levels inside the Tag Team Arena. So I'm not necessarily trying to push for, you know, that particular champion or anything like that. I'm essentially just trying to get back into gold, essentially, so I can buy Sacred Shards and more accessories on every reset, which would be quite nice. Now, our Armanz does get petrified by the Mithrala there, unfortunately. So does the Pythion. As you can see, though, Heffrack did essentially no damage to us because of their Harima there, which is pretty crazy. Now, I'm not overly familiar with this particular champion on the far right here, so I don't know about her revives and all those sorts of good things. I don't know her kit very well, so she might be very strong for this fight as well. We'll have to essentially just wait and see, I suppose. So Harima is coming in there, taking out the Heffrack. We do revive the Wukong, which is a bit of a shame. This is obviously a bit of a fight for our Armanz as well, because he doesn't necessarily have the accuracy to really get through a lot of these champions' resistances. That being said, he does now have the accuracy buff coming in from the... oh god, I forgot her name. The Mikage now, so that's nice. We're having trouble even just taking out that Wukong. It looks like he somehow resisted the sheep coming in from the Armanz. My Armanz is not incredibly built. He only has like 350 accuracy or something like that. Like, he's very low accuracy, unfortunately. As long as we can keep their reviver like stunned, we should be able to win this no problem. We do sheep her there. We got the decrease attack on the Wukong, which is nice. And hopefully we're going to have an ally attack into that Wukong soon enough as well. Just going to keep targeting that reviver. We do have the block debuffs up for the application of the Hex from Mithrala, which is quite nice. Now, unfortunately, we do get sheeped on the Harima there, which is a bit of a shame. Let's keep stealing that turn meter, though. Unfortunately, Mithrala does also cleanse the stun off of her. We do sheep her again, though, so basically the longer she gets sheeped, the more her cooldowns are going to be increased by Armanz there as well. Harima goes down, unfortunately. We should be able to res her right away, though, with Pythion. I'm essentially just going to go ahead and cut to when this fight is over, since this is probably going to take a while. Now, with this team, as you can probably deduce, one of the big weaknesses to it is, of course, our Harima's damage. She doesn't hit incredibly hard or anything like that. And part of the reason for that is actually going to be essentially the fact that I don't have an increased defense or anything like that. Also combining that with the fact that I don't have a weaken or a decreased defense on the enemy team means that she's going to be struggling a lot more to do any sort of damage. I do have a potential fix for that coming in the future though, because I did go ahead and pick up Freya. So Freya is essentially going to help me to get those increased defenses, more cleanses, those sorts of things as well. So that is essentially something I want to try. Now this team looks kind of interesting as well. Couple potential things here. So we don't have any sort of intimidating presence of any meaningfulness on the first team. So it is very possible essentially that my Arbiter team could go ahead and outspeed them. That would also then free up our Taurus team to take on their third team there, where they have a lot of AoE. And then we can essentially have our Harima team take on their Wukong team once again, because Harima is very solid at countering Wukong. Alternatively, what we could do is we could run the Taurus team against their first team, because the automatic burn coming in from Gizmak is essentially going to trigger Harima's passive there, where she is going to place the block damage. However, that's going to be very annoying to then try and fight their third team, especially with any sort of speed team or anything like that. So I'm going to depend here on my first team being faster, especially that 5-star awakening on the Wukong should certainly help us there. It's going to boost our aura by like 30%, which gives us a bit of additional speed. So we are quicker, which is awesome, and we get the full lockout across the board. That is also awesome. And we're going to be fully speed tuned here, I believe, so Wukong goes next. We're going to hit their Wukong. Surplus damage is plenty enough to take out everybody else on the team, which is nice. So now we essentially have to depend on our Harima team to go through this here, and this is quite a tanky team. So obviously we have the UDK there, which is going to be very annoying. We have the Duchess, who's going to decrease AoE damage. The upside to having Duchess, though, is the Harima can actually place an unresistible provoke on her. And then, of course, she can't weak hit against her or anything like that, even though the Duchess is a strong affinity matchup. Of course, my Harima doesn't have much resistance or anything like that either, so you can see she's getting debuffed by the likes of UDK, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. If you're curious, I'll be showcasing builds and everything like that at the end of the video once I've had a chance to go through some fights here. So same thing with this one, since this team is going to take a while, I think I'll just go ahead and hop back once we're close to the end. Now the one thing I will say about this, I'm playing with obviously my headset on and I can hear the game. My god, is it annoying to listen to these battles, because every 3 seconds all I hear is like, it's so annoying, because Polymorph keeps proccing on one team or the other. And then they're just constantly buying all the time. And then when they get hit, they're like, rah! It's so annoying, man. Not only is Polymorph annoying to deal with, but apparently it's also annoying to listen to. So it is kind of doubly terrible. And there we go. There's more of the boss. You probably can't really hear it, because I'll have it turned down quite a bit in the actual video. Maybe I'll turn up the game here quickly so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about, though. And then if somebody gets sheeped, you should be able to hear it as well, so let's let that play out here. But there's just some of these weird, quirky little, like, you know, voice lines and stuff in the game that'll play sometimes that are kind of wild. And my Harima gets petrified as well. You know what, we're just going to go ahead and hop back until, or once we're almost done the fight here. It's going to take a while. So, big moves here. We were actually able to win the fight. We took out the Duchess, and then after that, their team just slowly kind of fell one by one, which was quite nice. Now, this particular team, I'm hoping we're tanky enough really to go ahead and survive. We do take out their Thor there, which means that the protections and stuff like that placed on him by Necrit are going to be gone. So it's going to be a lot harder for them to try and keep him alive. Now, of course, we do also have Taurus coming in here for all these counterattacks. Basically, the way this works is Ancora is going to be eating any sort of freezes or anything like that are placed by the likes of Tormund, which then frees up, obviously, my Taurus to counterattack. She gets her turn meter boost anyways if she misses a turn due to a CC effect, so you can see her turn meter went up to 50% there. I think Pythion probably has his revive available right away. We'll have to wait and see. It'll be pretty nice if we can get a clean sweep on this, though, and we do. So we get ourselves some nice juicy ranking points there. A pretty fair fight, in all honesty, I'd say, kind of across the board. The team power was pretty well matched up there. So as you can see, we won 5 out of the 6 fights so far, which is nice. Now, this particular team, their first team just seems like a very easy match for my Harima, because obviously she does help to effectively counter the Sun Wukong, and then we have 2 Demon Spawn champions in there as well. Now, for the other teams, we don't have a High Awakening of Intimidating Presence on the third team there. We do have a Georgid, though, so I'm not entirely dependent on my Taurus and my UDK to really help counter that. I've also noticed that the frame rate in my game is absolutely terrible for some reason. Not sure what exactly is going on. I'm going to check my task manager here real quick and see if there's something that's like eating a lot of my resources or something crazy like that. 75% of my CPU is being used. That's crazy. RSL Helper's keeping itself open on the background and using like 2 gigabytes of my RAM. That might be part of it. And then, yeah, everything else appears to be good. So I closed the OBS, or rather RSL Helper. Let's see if that makes a difference. But back to the strategy here. So I think we're going to go Speed Team against Speed Team and just hope that my Awakening combined with my Speed is enough to get it done. And then I think we'll go Taurus Team against the Armands there, because as long as he's not built inside Stone Skin, we should be able to tap him pretty easily as well. So we're going to go ahead and see how this works here, if it works, and all those sorts of good things. Now, that being said, on the channel, I am pushing hard to try and get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So hopefully by, you know, December 31st, I have actually deduced how many days are in December this year, by the way. In one of my other videos, I didn't know how many, so that was a bit interesting. But December 31st, I'd like to have 2,000 subscribers by then. So if you can find it in your heart to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, it would be very much appreciated. It means the world to me, the amount of support this channel's had in the past year. I've grown it from like 450 subscribers all the way up to almost 2,000 now, which is crazy. And then, of course, we did get monetized and everything like that, too, which has been absolutely awesome. So that's all because of you guys. Thank you so much for the support. It means a lot. And I am also going to be planning to do a lot more game reviews and stuff like that, especially, you know, games that we might have on Steam and those sorts of things. So make sure to stick around for that too, if that's something you're interested in. I am kind of branching out and trying other gacha games as well, so Watcher of Realms is definitely kind of at the top of the list these days. King Arthur's just came out, which seems to be an interesting game some people are chatting about. And then we have the other stuff like Awaken Chaos Era and those sorts of things. I would like to start sprinkling in more Watcher of Realms content on the channel as well. It's just kind of a never-ending debate for me of if I want to start a second channel for something like that, or if I just want to record it on the primary channel. But, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day, I suppose. I'm also just going to go ahead and check to make sure that the frame rate for my monitor is set correctly, because something just feels off today. It's crazy, but it could also just be RAID. I noticed that there's like a bit of a freeze when I tab back in, and the game doesn't really respond all that well, but, you know, we'll see here. We'll see. Let's put it back on auto. We now just have to go against the Stultus and the Michinaki, who are both fantastic champions, but I don't think they're really going to last too long against my particular team. There it is. We get the counterattack coming in from the Taurus. Now, if we can outspeed them, this is going to be a clean sweep on this team, and we do, in fact, go faster than them. We get the lockout on everybody, and then Sun Wukong comes in for his AoE. So another clean sweep there, which is quite nice. So let's go ahead and just keep going through these teams here. Now this one is a bit more interesting. So on the first team, we do, of course, have the Tormund, who's going to be able to place freezes, which means that I can't just run a speed team into it. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do Taurus against that, because they have all AoEs. We're then going to run the Armands team against their third team here. And then we're going to run our speed team against their second team, because, well, they do have a weaker aura than us, and we have the same awakenings there, so the Lady Kimmy, so we should be able to do that. There's no way in hell my Armands team outspeeds them, so we kind of just have to depend on the Arbiter. A little bit of spoilers as well, so my Arbiter is currently at about 369 speed. She is the fastest champion on my account. I can get her marginally faster. I took a look into the Hell Hades Optimizer the other day. Essentially, I could get her all the way up to 374, but it would require that I take gear off of my Crixia. And I just couldn't really justify that, in all honesty. Crixia is such a crucial champion to my account that I think it's more important to have her well built as opposed to Arbiter just being 5 speed faster. That being said, though, in these fights, of course, because of that, we do get outsped quite a bit, so it is a bit of a shame, especially if they have a higher awakening than us or an even awakening. We do actually go faster here, though. So thankfully, my Arbiter was faster. Now, they did only have the 28% speed aura, so it does make sense. We get a 2-turn sheep placed on us because Wukong tried to open with his A3, which is annoying. So we get sheeped by their Armands, and it goes on for 2 turns for some reason. Excuse me. Wukong likes to open with his A3, so he tried to strip their buffs, which means, unfortunately, we're probably going to lose this fight. We don't get the sheep coming off on either the Wukong or the Arbiter there, which is, once again, incredibly annoying. So we essentially just have to hope that... And again, he stays sheeped, even for the next turn. After the counterattacks, all that sort of good stuff. This is fantastic. This really just sums up why a lot of people don't like arena content these days. And it's because there's so much BS RNG in the game. Like, we should have won this fight. It's as simple as that. We had the better champions. We clearly had the better gear where we were faster. It's just, oh, this one champion has a blessing that has an RNG chance of just absolutely fucking you. And it's like, hey, you lost. It's so annoying, especially when stuff like this happens in Live Arena, right? Because there's a lot more riding on those fights usually, but I can definitely understand why people don't like PvP. I am quite a fan of it myself. It's nice to be able to test my account against other players and everything like that, but there's also a reason I'm not in Gold 1 Tag Team Arena, right? Like, it's a combination of being lazy as well as just not wanting to deal with the RNG BS fest that we have in the current PvP scene. So curious what you guys think about that, though. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too dramatic about it. Who knows? We got sheep there again. I don't even know who sheeped us this time. It was one of these three, probably the Marichka. In all honesty, she has the highest awakening, so I'd bank on it being her. We almost have them down though, which is nice. So boom, that takes out everybody, but that's not Marichka, by the way. That's Mithrala. I said Marichka. We only get 7 ranking points from that, which is a bit of a shame. Lastly, we do have this team that we can try and go against as well. We have a couple different strategies that we can employ here. So once again, I do think Speed Team against his Team 1 will be a good match. We have the higher awakenings. We have the same aura. We have better champions because he doesn't have a second turn meter booster, so even if his Arbiter's faster, we're just going to cut in anyways. That then leaves essentially our Armand's team to go against their Armand's team. It's a very similar team, actually. However, it means that Candrafon is not really going to be able to do a whole lot of damage or anything like that. We do have higher awakenings as well, which is quite nice. And then that does mean that their bomb team is going to be going against our Taurus Marichka team. So I think we should be clear to win at least 2 out of 3 of these fights here. And I get that not everybody is going to have, you know, Taurus Marichka, that you're going to be able to do this. But I am putting out a video probably before this one goes live about some of the best epics in the game for Live Arena content. So what you can do is essentially just apply a lot of that same mindset, of course, to, you know, Tag Team Arena and use some of those same champions for that particular piece of content and kind of progress your account that way, right? And just keep in mind, you are trying to push into Gold 1 Tag Team Arena. It's going to be essentially a prerequisite that you're going to have some decent champions, right? Like, nobody's expecting, or at least nobody should be realistically expecting, to get to one of the highest ranks of PvP in the game without having some good champions and good gear to go against it. That's not to say, of course, that you need Taurus Marichka, but you need some legendaries and you need some champions that can help carry your team, right? So you can definitely make do with some other champions, though, certainly. Especially if you have Narcissus Marichka. That seems to be almost more popular these days as opposed to the Taurus Marichka combination, which is quite interesting. Now, Harima does manage to go ahead and essentially resist everything there, it seems. So I'm going to take this off auto because I want Harima to hardcore target that Armands, because the Armands is going to be really the only chance they have at winning the round. So now that we've taken him out, we should be pretty much scot-free here. We're just going to go ahead and do this, take off the Unkillable and stuff like that off the Candrafon there. As you can see, Candrafon just really can't do anything against us because of Harima, which is quite nice. So any sort of Demon Spawn champion is essentially just useless when she's in the team, which is awesome. So think of Lord Shazar, think of obviously champions like Candrafon, Duchess, those sorts of things. She's very adept at countering them, so very, very strong champion. I've done a few spotlights on her on my channel, but I definitely wouldn't mind doing more. She's that incredibly strong, and I think, in all honesty, she is probably my favorite DPS champion in the game because she just has a unique aesthetic and she brings something unique to the table. I believe she is still the only champion that's going to have the decreasing enemy ignored defense effects, which is very strong because obviously everybody's going to be built out in Savage or Lethal or whatever OP set that you might have. So having somebody who can just say, hey, you know what, your Savage set is half as good now, that's so strong. We do get a clean sweep there, all 3 teams, which is quite nice. Now we are out of tokens, but we do have some refills here, so let's see if we can't make something else happen. I think I'm going to take these 3 easy fights, just since we are ranked low enough. It's essentially just giving us some free wins. So I'm going to go ahead and take these 3 free wins, and then we're going to go ahead and do a refresh there as well. Not because I don't like the teams that are left for me to fight, but more so because I want to get into a higher ranking, so that when I refresh it, hopefully gives us a better set of enemies to go against, so you can see how some of the tougher fights might go, of course. One of the things I find interesting too is kind of the juxtaposition in Raid between like what is actually pay to win versus what is just grinding, right? Because I know obviously you can have like a +4 empowered Crixia or something crazy like that, right? But if you don't have the gear to go with it, you're still not really going to be able to do much. And I seen a video by Ash recently where he was talking about there are certainly still some parts of the game where you can't pay to win and you still have to just farm. So a good example of that being glyphs, right? So glyphs can add probably like 90, not 90, it'd be more like maybe 70 speed to your character because you're going to have a +8 glyph possible on 7 pieces of gear, right? So if you have speed rolls on every single substat of your upper pieces, and then obviously your banner can also roll speed as a substat as well, and then the 6-star glyph gives you, I believe, a +8 on every piece of gear. So it is crazy the gains that you can make, and you get those obviously from farming faction wars. So it is quite interesting there. But then again, you know, once in a while you're going to come against those teams where the champions are just too strong and you can't really do anything against it. So excuse me, it does seem to be kind of an interesting never-ending war, right? So I think we're going to do our Mons team against this team here. We're going to do Taurus Marichka against the top team, and then we're going to do our speed team against our Mons team. Now I think this will be pretty interesting. We do get Polymorph there, which is absolutely fantastic. So what is very nice about Polymorph and Stoneskin is my Taurus went to place a Fear on their Duchess, and then since that Fear was placed on the Duchess, she polymorphed my Taurus. But because she has Stone Skin, the Fear was then removed from the Duchess, and then she got the Stone Skin buff instead. So it's actually quite fantastic if you think about it. It just screwed over my team and absolutely benefited their team in every way possible. But, you know, it is what it is, I guess. I still don't have a single 6-star Awakened champion, and I have a feeling that I am not in the minority of players on that fact. So I don't have those irresistible sheeps or anything like that for, you know, some of my strong support champions. I would absolutely love to get like a Ancora or a Marichka in a 6-star Awakening. I also like to get a Harima in a 6-star Awakening, any sort of champion like that, really. Another big one, I think, actually, for a 6-star Awakening is going to be Freya as well. She seems like she's going to be a very, very solid champion. Now, you might be looking at this team and wondering, how the hell did he get a freeze out there? Well, I've done a showcase on my UDK, and UDK is actually built out in 2 pieces of Frostbite gear, so he has a 10% chance of placing a freeze every time somebody hits him. And of course, it's UDK. He's going to be soaking up a lot of hits over his time on the team, so there's a lot of chances for people to potentially be frozen, which is pretty awesome. And he does also just have a 10% chance of blocking freezes when they attempt to place on him as well. So I can't complain all the time because I just seen that I've gotten 2 freezes essentially back-to-back there against the Duchess. We're still on auto here, but my game just decided that we're going to take a brief commercial break, I guess, is what happened there. So that was lovely. We're taking a commercial break once again here, it would seem. UDK was just giving some thought to what we were going to do here. We do have the block damage coming in here, which is quite nice. UDK gets tapped out once again. The counter attack from Taurus is very, very nice as well, obviously, because it's not an AoE. So going against the Duchess team, she doesn't have that, you know, added reduced damage to it. So he's very, very strong against tankier teams like this, even though the fight is going on quite a while, right? Like, if I had more optimal picks, I could have beaten this quicker, I would say, especially if I brought in, like, you know, buff removers and those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and sometimes, especially if you're not a whale or, you know, an extremely endgame player, you just got to get used to fights taking a little bit longer. Now, I don't know what's going on with the Plarium servers today, but my god, it has been glitchy to say the least. So we do get almost everybody locked out there. The Pythion didn't get locked out, but we did go ahead and remove his buffs, which is nice. So I think we'll go ahead and hit into Pythion. We do take out everybody else. Now the champion there, Leorius, he gets the unkillable, but that should be something that we can deal with. We'll go ahead and reduce turn meter. We'll go ahead and block active skills on him. So even if he comes in and, you know, hits us and kills somebody, he can only kill 1 target. If it's Wukong, worst case scenario, he's just going to be back in a couple of rounds anyways, right? So we got 2 freezes coming in against us there by the Tormund, which was awesome. Now, it's always interesting to see the wording of skills and how Plarium implements those. So, for example, my Harima, I believe her passive states something along the lines of cannot be blocked. So I want it to come back around to Harima here at some point so I can show you, but we'll just go on auto until we get to Harima here. And it's also not her passive I was thinking of, it's actually her A3. So this skill here, AoE, places a provoke debuff for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted if the target champion is from the Demon Spawn faction. Now you might think, oh, okay, well, we have a Mortu Macabre on the enemy team. He's going to get provoked, right? Nuh-uh. he has Stone Skin on there. So Stone Skin just overrides that, which is interesting. So basically, if they have a block debuffs or something like that, it can't be resisted or blocked. But if they have Stone Skin, good luck. It's also the same thing with the Quintus, the Triumphant review that I did recently. So his kit has a similar wording where it says on his A2 that it cannot be blocked. So he does a buff steal. But in fact, in reality, against Stone Skin, it's a 50-50 still, which is absolutely insane. So I think what we're probably going to do here is we'll do our Taurus Marichka team against their first team there. Then what I'm kind of feeling is that we'll do speed team against their secondary team, because we can't do a speed team against the Torment, obviously, so we're going to kind of depend on the Armands to go first here. They don't really have any sort of speed or anything like that, so we should be able to take control, so we can actually just leave our team set up as it is as well. So let's go ahead and do some more fights here and see what we can get done. So they are faster, of course, that's not really a shocker. However, that stun does get eaten by White Queen Ancora there, so our Taurus doesn't get stunned, means he can get some juicy counterattacks coming out. Their Foley is strong, but not quite strong enough to put down our Taurus, which is good. So we have essentially just won this fight without really too much of an issue, and it's now just down to the Odin. But Odin, as strong as he is, isn't going to be able to do anything against Taurus, unfortunately. It's always interesting to see mythological characters get humbled by just some random champion in Raid Shadow Legends. I don't think there's a single instance where Odin would get taken out by Taurus, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess. That being said, Taurus is actually based off of course, kind of a Ukrainian folklore, which is interesting. And I always find it funny as well that Taurus places fears on orcs when he goes into battle, which I think there's very few people that will actually get kind of the joke behind that. But for the ones that do, I think it's Plarium giving a subtle nod to goings-ons in the world. So that's it's always interesting. I get a little giggle out of that every time I read his kit. Or maybe I'm just reading into things too far, and Plarium has no idea what I'm even talking about, and I'm sure a lot of other people won't either. But if you do get the joke, and if you made it this far in the video, let me know down below. You don't have to explain it, of course. We want everybody else to be thinking and wondering what the joke is. It'll be our own little secret if you get it. So hopefully there's at least one person that understands it. Otherwise I'm going to feel kind of like an idiot. But it is what it is, I suppose. Now, we should be able to take out this fight here pretty easily. We're just down to the UDK left. The Tormund comes back, though, and then, of course, the Sun Wukong is going to come back right away as well. I think we'll go ahead and target the UDK, though, just so that for any sort of single-target shenanigans or whatnot, we're going to go ahead. What is going on, bro? What is this? There's just chain reaction sheep going on. So UDK, I think, sheeped us because Armands was trying to place the sheep on him. Or no, Tormund... Who the hell sheeped us? How did we get sheeped? I don't even know. Maybe I didn't get sheeped. I don't know, but... Oh, okay, I see what happened. So... Armand stole the turn meter, tried to sheep the UDK, but then the Tormund tried to sheep us, so he got sheeped instead. But I thought a sheep landed on my team too. Maybe I'm just making things up. I don't even know. I don't know. There's too damn many sheeps in this game now, man. At this point, so player sentiment when I'm making this on the, what is it, the 10th of November is very, very low. There's a lot of people who are saying they're going to quit the game because the last like 3 or 4 updates that Plarium has put out have just absolutely, without question, fuck the player base, and people are just kind of getting tired of L after L after L. So you know, there's a lot of people quitting. I think what Plarium should do to kind of try and bring back some morale is an event like they did with Ultimate Death Knight. So what they should do is they should bring Ultimate Sheep Night or something like that, where it's essentially just a champion that's free for everybody, a daily login, or a super easy fusion or something like that, right? And then it's just a goddamn sheep. So it's like Marius, but it's like a buff sheep or some stupid shit like that, where you can essentially just have some fun with it and kind of at the same time tell the players, hey, here's a good champion you can get. Maybe here's an idea. Make it a free champ. It's a sheep that's immune to polymorph, and make it actually do something good in the game. Make it do something useful in the game, because we have like Tiramisu or whatever her name is, the new champion that you get from the Clan Siege, but she's honestly not that good. And by the time people get her, she's going to be even more power crept than she is currently, so she's not really going to be all that useful in all honesty. So make a champion everybody can get, make them immune to polymorph, make them do cooldown increase or something like not something OP, make it a legendary, immune to polymorph, 2-turn increase on enemy skills, make it like a force affinity or a spirit affinity champion, or just, you know, something weird like that, right? But make it actually useful. It would be so cool to see that, and then people would actually be able to get, excuse me, get behind that and say, hey, you know what? We've had some shit updates. We've been taken advantage of by Plarium, right? No lube either, but this update kind of makes up for it. And we see Tormund under a sheep debuff, but he's not even sheep. So I don't know what's going on with the game. I honestly don't know. It's just kind of a cursed session today, it seems, but at least we're getting some wins. I don't think I have not lost a single battle yet, which is quite nice. Well, I did lose that one battle off the very start of the game, and then I lost the one because of sheep, I think. But overall, I have not lost like an entire 3 battles or 2 battles. I've won every single Tag Team Arena match that I've gone into, which is nice. So this is a bit scuffed. Cardinal does get a revive because Wukong triggered our Lydia, which is a bit of a shame. We're not strong enough on the accuracy from the Sun Wukong to actually be able to place a sheep on their UDK, which is a bit annoying. And Crixia wasn't strong enough either to take those off. So that's also a bit, but it is what it is. Now, we do have both their damage dealers down again. This is an interesting team. If this player happens to be watching the video, I'd recommend putting some sort of a support champion in the slot of UDK. So somebody who's removing buffs or doing some sort of control. Because, for example, if you had a Basher there or a Warlord or something crazy like that, when they came back with full turn meter, there's a good chance they could have locked me out, especially if they had some resistance as well. So Crixia is kind of perfect for those roles, by the way, because with her passive, basically her resistance works as accuracy. So she's kind of the inverse of a Mithrala, because Mithrala you build with high accuracy, which also equals her resistance. You have like a 1200, accuracy Mithrala. You also now have like a 1200 resistance Mithrala, which is pretty crazy. But Crixia is the other way. Build her with those resistances, and then you're going to get more accuracy, which is kind of cool. Now this is going to be an easy fight. This is going to take a bit of time. We have to wait for the stone skin to wear off the Necrit. We don't really have a way to remove it, but we still have Marichka and Taurus alive. Everybody on their team's dead. Nobody can self-revive. Necrit doesn't have a revive in his kit. Can he sheep us? He might be able to sheep us. He doesn't. He doesn't have a blessing, so he can't sheep us either. So it's all good. We're going to win. There's going to be no RNG bullshit where we just get stuck in a sheep for like 10 minutes. So that's good. Let's see. So interestingly enough, some of these players that I'm bullying aren't even level 100. This guy certainly is level 100, but he's very, very low player power. So as you can see, there's a very solid chance that you'll be able to progress into Gold 1 if you're trying to get there. That's probably the strongest player on the page so far, 20.96, 29. We're going to go ahead and try and fight this just as kind of a rite of passage. So we don't really have a high awakening on their first team, so there's a very solid chance that our Arbiter would be able to outspeed them. We probably want to run our Harima against their third team, just since they have the single targets from the Candrafon and the Wukong, and she's going to be very good at countering both. And then I think our Taurus team is perfectly matched up for their second team as well. So we'll go ahead and do something like this. This player is almost double my player power, so my player power right now is at about 15 mil, and I have a lot of champions built on my account, and I have a lot of gear and everything like that, so him being at almost 30 mil is potentially a sign of bad things to come. But if I can beat this, then I think you can certainly progress to Tag Team Gold 1. So we do take them out there, which is quite nice. We have no sheeps to deal with. I'm going to apply a little bit of chapstick at the same time, so don't mind me. My lips are dry, my mouth is dry. The whole goddamn place where I live has been dry recently, so the entire kind of region of the country, it's not just, my apartment or whatever, but humidity has gone way down. We're getting colder. Winter's on its way, it seems. It's kind of late. We haven't had any snow yet or anything like that, which usually we do. I was looking through my Snapchat memories the other day, and 5 years ago we had like 4 foot of snow already at this time. It was crazy. We had like a really bad storm that came through. Now we do get taken out there, but we are able to revive, which is nice. We do also take out their Leorius, who has no way of bringing himself back. So this is going to be a win, of course. It's just going to require a little bit of time. Our Marichka and our Ancora are nice and full health as well, so we don't need to worry about them dying. Even if Marichka died, it wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world because Ancora could, of course, revive her. We get that counterattack coming in from Taurus there to seal the deal. That is a second fight down as well. So we are winning this battle, certainly. Whether it's a clean sweep or not, that has yet to be determined, I suppose. Excuse me. So we managed to get the control on everybody. This person is 30 million player power, but doesn't even have the resistance on his Duchess to resist my, 300 accuracy Armands. That is absolutely crazy. How is this Duchess built? Duchess, you put HP resistance. That's basically all you build on her. And my team doesn't even have increased accuracy. It's crazy. And their UDK doesn't have like any gear seemingly on it either. And what is this blessing I see on the Duchess? Survival Instinct? 2-star Awakening? What is this? A Brimstone UDK? Is he using this for like a excuse me, like jeez, like a Dragon Solo or something like that? That'd be kind of interesting if he is. That might be kind of cool, but that's crazy. And then the Duchess is going to come back. She's like fully, you know, cooldowns increase though because of the amount of times that she's been sheep so far this fight. So that's nice. The Wukong comes back. Counterattack from the Harima doesn't quite take him out. We're going to put this on manual just so that I can make sure that we go in and get the right stuff done. She doesn't even resist that. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. She does survive that somehow though, so that's pretty cool. And then that's that. Fight's over. GG. So we did like, what is this? The attack? We did, oh boy, we did a lot. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fights against some pretty juicy accounts, I would say. All of these are like level 90 plus. All of them are level 99 plus, which is quite nice. So you can kind of get an idea how Tag Team Arena works and what you might be looking for certain fights and kind of the mentality that goes into this. And again, if you don't have these champions, you'll still put the same mentality into it, and I think you'll do perfectly fine. That being said, let's go ahead. Let's showcase the builds here. I'm sure everybody is excited to see this. I'm not going to show you masteries and stuff like that. I have, you know, champion guides on my channel for a reason. Go take a look at those if you're interested in a particular champion, how I have them built, why they're built a certain way, those sorts of things. So that is the Lady Mikage, pretty decent stats. We have the Crixia, 354 speed, 466 resistance. I'm happy-ish with her build. I'd like to have more speed and more resistance, of course. My son Wukong, I'm actually going to be doing a video about him here in the near future, so if you're seeing this first, congratulations, you got kind of a sneak peek into it, but he is an absolute menace now. I rebuilt him, so 291 speed, almost 300% crit damage, so he's at 299, 6400 attack, and 334 on the accuracy, so you're going to need like 500 resistance to resist his strip and everything like that, which is pretty nice. Armand's, this is kind of how he's looking, so 347 on the speed, only 372 on the accuracy, so you can really see how low the accuracy was on that Duchess there. Pythion, if you're interested, notably with him, he's built out in a 5-piece protection set, is really the highest I was able to get him at the moment while still maintaining speed and whatnot. He's also very fast, with not much resistance or anything like that, so just a lot of defense, a lot of HP, a lot of speed is basically what I went for. I wanted to have him as kind of like a cleanser, right? So I wanted him to cleanse ahead of my champions and stuff like that before like my Harima goes. This is UDK, very happy with his build as well, 550 on the resistance, 4100 defense, 95k HP, which is nice. He's very solid. He's in a 6-piece stone skin, so he gets the 2 turns of stone skin, which is quite nice. And then, of course, like I mentioned, I do have the 2-piece frostbite on him as well. This is Harima. Harima's build needs a little bit of work. 6,800 defense, 255 speed, 100 crit rate, 242 crit damage, 273 resistance. Marichka, nothing too crazy. At least a 4-piece stone skin so that I can get the 1 turn of stone skin on her. 533 on the resistance. She needs more resistance though. Like, she doesn't really resist any debuffs or anything like that. Taurus is a pretty nice build. 109 HP, 222 speed, 256 on the crit damage. It'd be nice to get him a higher awakening so that I can get that crit damage bonus as well. This is my Arbiter if you're curious. So once again, 369 on the speed, 184 on the accuracy. Now, interestingly enough, something about her is I still have a flat stat chest piece on her. Now, this flat stat chest piece, I am not kidding when I say this. I got this chest piece in maybe the first 1 to 2 months of me playing this game ever on my account. I believe I got lucky with, it was either a tournament that I was able to win where they dropped a divine speed set or something like that, or it might have been a very early clan boss push, but either or, I got a 6-star flat stat divine chest piece that double rolled into speed, and only now, within the last 2 months on my account, or last 1 month specifically on my account, was I actually able to get a chest piece that had more speed on this from a speed set. So that's perception, speed, divine speed, everything. I was just absolutely screwed. I couldn't roll a piece better than this for speed to save my life. I just couldn't do it. And only now has that happened. So there's a gap there of like 4 years where this chest piece has not been upgraded on my Arbiter. It's absolutely ridiculous. Here's my Lydia. if you're curious. So 312 on the speed, rebuilt her recently, 484 on the accuracy as well, 77k HP, very happy with her build. And then lastly, we have White Queen Ancora, who's 110 on the HP, a little bit more than my Pythion there, which is nice. 2800 on the defense, I'd like a bit more. 279 speed, 248 on the resistance. As you can see, I don't really go high on resistances on my champions these days, especially in the live arena. You're essentially just going to get rolled over by mythical champions that can just ignore 20% of your resistance anyways. So there's not really as much of an incentive to build that as we would have had back in the day. So a lot more just speed and HP on champions. But that being said, that's finally going to bring us to the close of our live arena, or rather tag team arena showcase here, our tag team arena gameplay, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully this helps you get into Gold 1 as well. I'm certainly going to be pushing for that myself here throughout the remainder of the day, the 7 hours and 53 minutes. Hope to see you there on the reset, and make sure to buy your sacred shards and your accessories if you can. Thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.